It looks like we finally have clarity on the Andrew Wiggins situation after a lot of speculation that Miami could deal Wiggins this offseason to offload the contract and maybe trade him to the Los Angeles Lakers. It is now being reported that Miami is expected to retain Wiggins at least through the start of this upcoming regular season. I am Nic Rohloff. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports. We're going to dive into everything on today's show, and we'll start with this quote from the Miami Herald. Anthony Chiang reported it specifically, saying that a league source confirmed to the Herald that the Heat's plan is to keep Wiggins on its roster for the start of the season, barring something unforeseen. The Heat is intrigued to see what a mix of players can accomplish after the recent addition of veteran guard Norman Powell. This doesn't surprise me whatsoever, and I'll be honest, I'm actually kind of happy about it, and I'll explain more on why I am feeling that way here in a second. But after the Heat made that move for the veteran guard Norman Powell, it just felt like this offseason and the direction that this team was going in for this upcoming season shifted. Not completely, but just ever so slightly. And that really turned the tide to me for the future of Andrew Wiggins in Miami. And before we get into more, this could be you, folks. I want to continue to spread the word and grow the Heat Report here. And the easiest way to do that is obviously subscribing, but sharing it to other people who haven't seen our content. So if you want to shout out on a show coming up in the next couple of days, share this video, click and post it to Twitter. If you tag me at Nic_Rohloff when you share the video, first 5 people will get a shout out on the next show. You can actually roll back the tape after the Norman Powell acquisition last week. I kind of floated out there, hey, I've been very open to trading Andrew Wiggins, and if the Lakers came in and offered Rui Hachimura, don't connect him, a first-round pick, yeah, I'm shipping Wiggins to LA, but I low-key want to keep Wiggins after the Powell trade. And here's where things currently stand for me still. Well, nothing's changed. Like, if a team came in and offered a Godfather package to where, all right, it's a clear overpay for a player like Andrew Wiggins and Miami could get underneath the luxury tax or something like that, well, then, yeah, okay, I'll trade Wiggins. But I'm not trading him just to trade him because I do believe that he can really be a productive and impactful player for the Miami Heat this upcoming season, and we could see a different player from what we saw a year ago after he was acquired in the Jimmy Butler trade. And I think Eric Spoelstra sees the same exact thing. Spoelstra was asked about Wiggins and his future, and he said that Wiggins had some really good moments with us. Before he got hurt, he was exactly what we needed and wanted out of that position. I think there's still a real opportunity for growth with him as he gets comfortable with us. He's already down in Miami right now and will be bringing his family in. He's going to be here most of August and September, I think, just to get more acclimated, and I think that's really important for him. If one thing is clear based on how Eric Spoelstra was speaking about some players at the Heat Summer League, as Bo was there in Las Vegas, if he is confident in someone's ability, then I am confident. Like, I know a lot of people, and I think this is overreactionary, and I push back on a lot of y'all. But a lot of you guys were upset with Spo this past year. And did he have one of his worst coaching seasons of his career? I think absolutely, there's no doubt about it. But this is a top 10 coach in the history of the NBA, in my opinion. So if he speaks highly, if he feels confident in someone's ability, I am going to listen. I am going to believe him. I'm not going to try to act like I'm smarter than Eric Spoelstra. Does he make interesting decisions at times? Yes, and they're frustrating. But I'm not going to act like I know more about the game than him because I just simply don't, and none of you guys do either. And when he says something about a certain 7-foot second-year center, which we'll probably make a video about in the next week or so, that also makes me listen as well. But what are you feeling? Do you still believe Andrew Wiggins can work in the 305 with this Heat basketball team? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Today's pinned comments. If you get hit with your YouTube ad break, scroll down, let it play, and answer the question. When it comes to Andrew Wiggins, I never doubted his talent. He was a number 1 pick for a reason, and he was incredibly productive throughout his career. Now, you can say he was a disappointment because of how highly of a prospect he was thought of, and the fact that he is very clearly incapable of being a top 2 or even a top 3 player on a championship team consistently. It was always about him in terms of why I was okay trading him, not fitting in Miami with what the Heat currently have, and the fact that he missed a bunch of games. It's not him as a basketball player. Because when he was on the floor in the regular season last year, he was really good. Like, he averaged 19 on really good efficiency. The problem is, he saw 17 games of action in the regular season. He missed 16. Like, he played in 17 of 33 regular season games possible after that trade in early February. And then when we saw him last, it left a horrible taste in our mouth here as Heat fans and supporters because he was absolutely abysmal in those 4 games against the Cleveland Cavaliers when Miami was swept in embarrassing fashion. To me, it was a poor fit, and they asked him to have too large of a role offensively as a third option. And I would argue at times he was asked to actually drive some of the offensive action for Miami more than Bam Adebayo. And he was almost your second player in terms of going to in the half court offensively. And I do not think he is capable of being a number 2 guy on the offensive end. To me, Andrew Wiggins just fits so much better on this Heat roster. When you get Norman Powell, a guard who maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on here, averaged 21 a game last season as the third option to Harden and Kawhi, and was still incredibly efficient when one of those two were gone, and both of them were gone, shooting 42% from three and 48% from the field. Like, you add that type of offensive talent to this roster, which desperately needed that type of infusion. It just allows other players to take a little bit more of a deeper breath offensively, especially in the half court. And Andrew Wiggins can go back to more of that role on the offensive end he is more comfortable with, rather than being forced into something and trying to do something that Wiggins can't. So after Norman Powell joins Miami, I feel much better about Wiggins this upcoming season and in the next couple of years in the 305. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we're going to continue to bring you daily content. I was just on vacation in Boston, and we still had videos going every day, and I'll be going on vacation next week as well to Virginia Beach with the fam, and we'll be having videos going every single day. No matter when, where I am, we are going to make you the most up-to-date Heat fan there is, so join the channel today. When I look at what this Heat team is probably going to do offensively in the half court this upcoming season, maybe I am a little bit high on Norman Powell, but I think he is the number 2 offensive option for Miami. I just envision the way Eric Spoelstra will use him, and I see someone who's going to see a lot of usage. Why do I think that? Well, just think of Duncan Robinson. Duncan Robinson this past year, after the Jimmy Butler trade, I would argue was a top 3 or 4 used offensive player, especially in the half court when he was on the floor playing. And Norman Powell, I don't want this to take away from Duncan because he was absolutely awesome in his career in Miami. Norman Powell is a way better overall offensive basketball player than Duncan. I think Duncan's a better pure shooter, but Powell can put the ball on the deck. He's a better finisher around the rim, but he can still shoot 42% from 3 on 7 attempts. I just imagine Powell having a high usage rate in Miami, running the pick and roll with Adebayo and coming off pin downs and curls and off-ball screens. And with him being inserted into such a high role in the half-court sets, that just moves Andrew Wiggins down a line. And when these 4 play together, Wiggins is now not going to be asked to drive a lot of the offense like he was in the back half of last season. It will be Herro. It will be Powell. I think Bam will be that number 3 guy. And then that's where Wiggins comes in. So with him staying on this roster, it's going to free him up a lot more to where he can focus more of his effort on the defensive side, where he can be that long 3-and-D menacing wing. And he's not just restricted to being a catch-and-shoot three-point shooter because that's not what he's best at. He's good at obviously doing that, but then leveraging that into some mid-range pull-ups and drives to the rim where he can finish strongly. But he is not going to be like, all right, let me ISO, let me run the pick and roll. I don't think that's something Wiggins can do. They posted him up a lot last season, and he showed the ability to do that at times, but not consistently. And I don't think Wiggins is going to have to do that this season, which why I think he fits a lot better, and it's why I really like Norman Powell. And here's one more thing before I move on to a different topic on today's show. we talked about the abysmal playoff performance. To me, it's kind of hard to continue to bring that up and blame Andrew Wiggins for playing so poorly in those 4 games against the Cavaliers when every single player on the roster besides one player was underachieving. And the one player that did not underachieve was Davion Mitchell, who is obviously returning to this roster after the Heat signed him to a 3-year extension, or 2-year extension, excuse me. So I can't blame Wiggins for being bad in that series against the Cavs when Herro was absolutely terrible and Bam Adebayo was underwhelming. So I'm not really going to be here talking bad about Wiggins' playoff performance much longer. And it sounds like he's going to be on the team, as we've said in this video. And I'm excited to see what he can bring second year in Miami. So can't wait to see what happens. And I have to let you know about this deal. A crazy Miami Heat Vice sale. This hoodie, $69 usually, on sale right now. You see it, bottom of your screen, for $35 when you go to chatsports.com/Vice sale. How about that? Links in the description and comments of today's video. $35. Sizes are running out, though. 2X is, I think, gone. Triple X is gone, so they only got small, medium, large, and extra large. So take advantage today because they are continuing to fly off the shelves. When it comes to Wiggins, and we'll round out the show with talking about this, although I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table in year 2, it doesn't sound like there was a ton of interest in Andrew Wiggins, regardless at this point in the offseason. I know we've consistently talked about the potential trade between Miami and the Lakers for Wiggins. Doesn't sound like that really came ever close to coming to fruition, despite what Anthony Irwin and Jovan Buha kept on saying. Another legendary Lakers reporter, Dan Wyke, reported with the Zach Lowe podcast the other day that the Lakers are not interested in Andrew Wiggins at this point, and he said he can put that to bed now. So maybe there was interest from Los Angeles, and I think it would have made sense for them to do that, but as the LeBron James situation becomes even more testy, it doesn't sound like they're going to try to go all in to maybe help LeBron and Luka win a title. They might be prioritizing the future with Doncic, so it doesn't make sense for them to trade all their future assets to try to help get a win-now piece that might not ultimately get you over the hump. And the only offer at this point in the offseason I was accepting from the Lakers was expiring salary, Dalton Connect, and a first-round pick. The Lakers were never going to offer that. We know that. It was reported. Now, who knows how accurate that is. But I'm going to believe the report that it was declined by the Lakers when Miami said Hachimura, another contract, Connect, and a first-round pick. Lakers said no. And the Heat were like, well, if you're not offering that, we're not going to just hand you Wiggins. So if the Lakers were never offering that, then a trade was never going to happen to begin with. Now, this is the final point of the show. Even though I'm excited for Wiggins in year 2 in Miami with this better fit, and there's not being a lot of interest now, and the report that they're going to keep him to this season, I do think there's still a solid chance Andrew Wiggins gets traded during the season. What is that percent chance? I'm not sure. I think actually at this point, I would go 50-50. I think it's very dependent on how Miami performs. If the Heat are outperforming and a top 6 team in the East, they're not going to trade Andrew Wiggins. But if they are underperforming and are a play-in team once again, I think they will likely try to shop Andrew Wiggins before the NBA trade deadline in early to mid-February. Why? Well, they got to get underneath the luxury tax. And this is something that doesn't need to happen now. It would be easier to have clarity by getting underneath it now going into the season. But they're $1.4 million over the luxury tax. We know Pat Riley said that one of the goals is to remain competitive, but maybe hop out of the luxury tax so they don't get hit with the repeaters tax penalty, and they can hop out and then hop back in next season. And they're $1.4 million over, so at the trade deadline, if they traded Wiggins or if they traded a Terry Rozier and took back $2 million less in salary, they would then hop underneath the luxury tax and be in a perfect spot. It does not happen. It has to happen now. It just has to happen before the end of the season in April. So that is something to keep an eye on, whether it's Rozier, whether it's Wiggins. I still expect one of those two to be moved this season at some point so they can get underneath the luxury tax. Obviously, Rozier is the more likely option there. That will do it for today's show. Appreciate everybody tuning in here on the Heat Report. If you have not subscribed to the channel already, please do so. And if you're still watching and aren't subscribed, What are you waiting for? Clearly, what we're bringing to the table. So join us here. We're a family. And as always, go Heat.